The shocking news has sent shock waves through the reality TV world, and now authorities have started the hard work. The huge and varied collection of items left behind by the gold and silver pawn shop is now being handled by the Pawn Stars estate after its corporate entity filed for bankruptcy. What was once known as the most famous pawn shop in Las Vegas has become a crime scene of financial and legal intrigue. Things got even worse when Rick Harrison's son was sentenced to prison, adding another dark chapter to this once happy family story. What started out as a simple financial audit quickly turned into a complicated investigation when authorities found some very worrying items among the thousands of artifacts that the Harrison family had collected over the years. The shop, made famous by the History Channel's long-running hit show Pawn Stars, had become a landmark in Las Vegas, drawing tourists from all over the world eager to see Rick Harrison, his son Cory Big Hose Harrison, and fan-favorite employee Austin Chumley Russell. But the glitz and glamour of TV fame have long since faded, as investigators now go through a huge inventory and find things that raise serious questions about the shop's acquisition procedures and legal compliance. Before this investigation, the Harrison family went through the terrible loss of Rick's other son Adam Harrison earlier this year. Adam was only 39 years old and had always preferred a quiet life, unlike his famous brother Cory. He died of a drug overdose in January 2025, which shocked the close-knit Las Vegas community that had seen the Harrisons become famous. "Rick is completely devastated," said a family member who asked to remain anonymous. "Losing Adam was heartbreaking, and now the legacy Rick built with his father is being torn apart. It's a nightmare that keeps getting worse." The investigation began innocently enough when auditors were called in because of worries about declining revenue and cash flow. In recent years, Pawn Stars viewers had dropped, affecting income from the show and related merchandise. At the same time, the shop had grown a lot to accommodate the tourists drawn to the show's popularity. What the auditors found in the shop's huge storage facilities, however, turned a simple financial review into something much more serious. Items with questionable provenance were hidden among the real inventory. Historical items that don't have full paperwork, possibly illegally imported antiquities, and even things that have been reported stolen in other states. The sheer amount of information is overwhelming. Natalie Rodriguez, a former FBI art crime specialist who was brought in to help with the case, says that there are thousands of items in question, some from before the show even started, when documentation standards weren't as strict. It's a huge job to figure out what is real and what may have been illegally acquired. Some items from the Civil War have paperwork problems that make it look like they may have been stolen from protected historical sites, and there are also Native American artifacts that could be protected by the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, which requires strict legal acquisition processes. The probe has also drawn renewed attention to Austin Chumley Russell, whose past legal troubles had once threatened the squeaky clean image of the show in 2016 while being investigated for sexual assault allegations that never resulted in charges. Police discovered illegal drugs and unregistered weapons in his home. He later pleaded guilty to felony weapons possession and misdemeanor drug charges, receiving 3 years probation. Chumley has worked incredibly hard to turn his life around, stated his attorney Martin Cohen. He had no purchasing authority and played no role in acquiring the items in question. He's fully cooperating with investigators for Rick Harrison, the charismatic public face of Pawn Stars and a man who often recounted how his late father Richard the Old Man Harrison taught him the importance of authenticity and knowledge in the pawn business. This investigation represents a profound personal and professional crisis. Richard Harrison passed away in 2018 at the age of 77 after A battle with Parkinson's disease. He and Rick had opened the gold and silver pawn shop in 1989, laying the groundwork for what would become a global entertainment phenomenon. When the show debuted in 2009, Rick always credited his dad with everything he knew about the business, said a former producer who worked with the family for 7 seasons. The old man was tough, old school, and he was proud of the legacy they were building. He'd be heartbroken to see it fall apart like this. As investigators continue to catalog the shop's enormous inventory, they've also uncovered significant financial irregularities that suggest years of potential tax issues and mismanagement. While no formal charges have been filed yet, forensic accountants are now involved, combing through the complex web of business entities that emerged from a Harrison family's meteoric rise. At the height of the show's popularity, the family used their fame to start several businesses in Las Vegas, such as Rick's Rollin Smoke Barbecue and Tavern, Cory's investment in the Viper Room Las Vegas, and a number of merchandise deals were run by a company structure that is now being looked at closely for possible money laundering and questionable spending cuts. Cory Big Hose Harrison, who began working in the pawn shop as a teenager and was groomed on screen to eventually inherit the family business, now finds himself in a precarious position. The investigation threatens not only his financial future but also the succession plan built over years of television episodes, charting his journey from a brash young man to a capable businessman. Cory is doing his best to stay strong and support his dad through all of this, said a family friend. He's still mourning Adam and doing everything he can to cooperate with the authorities and keep the shop running, but it's tough. The atmosphere in the store is just somber now. Adam's death in January cast a long shadow over the family. Although he never appeared on the show, he remained a vital part of their personal lives. His passing from a drug overdose underscored the severity of the opioid crisis affecting families across the nation. Later, Rick told everyone that Adam had been struggling with addiction for years. He wrote, "You will always be in my heart, Adam. I love you." Since then, Rick has become an advocate for raising awareness about the opioid epidemic, using his platform to speak out about its devastating impact. But even as they grieve, the Harrison family has found themselves besieged by relentless media scrutiny. Sources close to Rick maintain he's cooperating fully with authorities and believes any irregularities are unintentional, likely the result of explosive growth the business experienced when Pawn Stars turned a local pawn shop into a global brand. Almost overnight, systems that work for a small business often crumble under the pressure of sudden fame, explained Ellis Monroe, a business consultant who has worked with reality TV stars. Procedures for acquisitions, financial controls, proper documentation, they all need to evolve quickly. That doesn't always happen as it should. The History Channel, which aired Pawn Stars and played a pivotal role in elevating the Harrisons to celebrity status, issued a short statement acknowledging awareness of the investigation. They emphasized, however, that the network had no role in or knowledge of the daily purchasing operations of the gold and silver pawn shop. The statement also confirmed that the show is not currently being made until the legal problems are resolved. The show has had more than 600 episodes in 22 seasons, as well as several spin-offs and international versions. Pawn Stars quickly became one of the most popular cable TV shows. Its mix of funny customer interactions, historical facts, and family drama drew in millions of people. A big part of the show's draw was Rick's role as the knowledgeable expert who could tell the difference between real and fake. But now that image is being called into question, and if these claims are true, it's a real credibility problem. Renowned TV reviewer Miranda Jensen, Rick was shown to be able to spot a fake in a matter of seconds. It doesn't make sense how all of these bad things got through. It doesn't match what we saw on TV. Some of the scariest finds are artifacts that are thought to come from places with strict rules against exporting cultural goods. Egypt, Greece, and some parts of the Middle East are known for being very strict about returning stolen items. The antiques market is full of legal pitfalls. Dr. Elias Nur is a historian who specializes in returning artifacts to their original owners without keeping detailed records of where they came from. It's shockingly easy to buy stolen goods, even if you don't know it. For a shop with this much fame and a history of selling historical items, the standard for due diligence should have been through the roof. These revelations have made fans reevaluate episodes where experts were brought in to help authenticate artifacts. At the time, these segments were seen as proof of the family's dedication to accuracy and ethics. Now they raise questions about what may have happened off camera when documentation couldn't be verified. One fan said. A history teacher from Minnesota named Margaret Winters watched every show and always admired how careful they were. She also visited the store where Rick always said he wouldn't buy anything without papers. It's not clear how this could happen. There is also a bad picture in the business records. Even though the pawn shop is still a popular tourist attraction in Las Vegas, sales have steadily been going down since around 2022. This is because there are fewer new episodes and fewer merchandise sales. As celebrity wealth advisor Thomas Keegan said, "Fame from reality TV fades fast. It looks like the Harrisons tried to branch out, but it's not easy to keep those businesses going after the initial buzz dies down." The situation is made even more complicated by the fact that Richard Harrison's will left his estate to Rick and Joseph and left one of his 3 sons out of the will before he died. This has made it very hard for investigators to figure out who is responsible for any wrongdoing. Chumley, who used to be Cory's childhood friend and comic relief and is now a marketing giant, is once again facing negative press. He had worked hard to reinvent himself after 2016, losing weight, opening a candy shop next to the pawn shop, and creating an image of personal redemption. Now that the storm is coming back, he has to defend the progress he's made against old enemies. Pawn Star used to be a story of hard work and family wealth, but now it sounds more like a warning. Fame, grief, and mistakes and oversight are bringing down a huge empire built on collectibles. It's still unclear if the Harrison family can save their name and their business, but for now, the shop's bright neon sign flickers not with promise but with a fading legacy that's hard to see. Even as the lawyers and investigators continue their relentless audit of the once bustling gold and silver pawn shop, the place has an eerie sense of finality. The store, which used to be full of laughter, camera crews, and curious tourists, now feels more like a museum of mistakes, a somber monument to what happens when celebrity business and poor oversight collide. The shelves that once proudly displayed artifacts from American history are now half empty, their contents either taken away for examination or boxed up as evidence. Employees, many of whom had worked there for over a decade, whisper in low voices, not knowing if they will get paid next week or if the doors will be shut for good. Foot traffic has slowed to a trickle where once there were lines stretching around the block for selfies with Rick or Chumley. Now there are only a few stragglers, some still unaware of the unfolding scandal, others simply hoping for one last look at the shop that had become an American icon. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the legal battle is intensifying. Attorneys representing Rick Harrison have already filed motions to delay any potential charges until a full audit of the inventory is complete. They argue that the scope of the investigation is so vast and the volume of merchandise so overwhelming that any premature conclusions would be both unfair and inaccurate. We are talking about tens of thousands of items acquired over a 35-year period, said Rick's attorney Vanessa Leung. The majority of these acquisitions were made in good faith. If mistakes were made, they were administrative, not criminal, but not everyone is convinced. Several independent experts brought in to consult with the Nevada Bureau of Investigation have pointed to patterns in acquisition logs that suggest certain employees may have knowingly ignored red flags when purchasing high-value historical artifacts. Some people even think that there was a deliberate failure to check where the items came from in the rush to fill the store with items that would look great on TV. As the story continues to unfold, even die-hard fans are losing hope. Online fan forums and pages that used to be packed with people excited about new episodes and rare finds are now mostly empty. Many people are having a hard time figuring out how to square the show's wholesome tone with the sexual misconduct claims against its stars. One longtime fan wrote on Reddit, "It's just sad. They were like family to us, we grew up with them, and now it feels like we didn't know them at all." The fall of Pawn Stars is a turning point in the history of reality TV in general.